to an explosive court case that has absolutely dominated headlines around the world.
Only 4 journalists were allowed in the courtroom now. One Australian reporter is taking us inside the trial of fallen socialite Ghislaine Maxwell. Multi-millionaire Jeffrey Epstein and British socialite Ghislaine Maxwell were the evil masterminds behind one of the biggest sex trafficking rings in US history. Grooming, child sex abuse. For decades, the high-profile couple committed unthinkable crimes. More than 100 victims identified.
Pretty upsetting to see how many lives he's devastated and to see how long this went on for and nobody did anything about it.
Following Epstein's death in 2019, Ghislaine Maxwell went into hiding. Once the FBI tracked her down, she was arrested, then sentenced to 20 years in jail. In court, victims recounted how Maxwell targeted them, then lured them into giving Epstein massages, which turned sexual.
I thought I was going to a legitimate audition for Victoria's Secrets.
The profound impact of their abuse and the alleged extent of the criminal ring has largely been kept secret until now. In an Australian exclusive, journalist and legal reporter Lucia Osborne-Crowley joins us now from London. Good morning. This was a case that captured the world: abuse of power, vulnerable young women and high-profile players. What was it like inside that courtroom?
It was really amazing to have a front row seat to this kind of trial because I think it's very hard to get a good understanding of what actually goes on in a courtroom like this without being there and without hearing the victims speak right up close. And that's what was really important to me, was being able to be in the room with these victims when they gave this testimony and to be able to look them in the eyes and hear them and see them. And I think that gives a really different perspective than what we can get just with headlines around the world. So it was really important to me to be able to actually be there.
Yeah, some of those stories must have been harrowing for you. What about Ghislaine Maxwell? Because you were barely 2 feet away from her. How did she react throughout the trial?
Very strangely. It was very strange to be sitting so close to her. Her approach to the entire trial was quite confounding. She often seemed like she didn't really think she needed to be there. She was extremely relaxed. There was a time when, it was her birthday over Christmas and we had the day off for Christmas and we came back afterwards and she walked in and everyone said, "Happy birthday, G, happy birthday, G." And she kind of looked at the 4 of us in the press gallery as if we were about to wish her a happy birthday, kind of, as if we were at her party instead of her federal sex trafficking trial. It was very bizarre. There was a real lack of remorse there, which came through in her sentencing remarks as well. So yeah, very, very strange to be in her presence. She also kind of interacted with me in quite strange ways because after she figured out that I was going to be there every day. So just, yeah, a very strange person to be around.
What amazed me, though, was covering this case and writing this book came at a huge personal cost for you. You were followed, intimidated, threatened throughout the process. Did you ever feel like walking away from it?
Oh, such a good question. I did definitely underestimate how much kind of intimidation and how many threats I would receive throughout the course of this. But I'm glad I didn't know because it might have scared me before starting. And once I had started, I could feel how important it was to me and the victims that I had met by that time. So, it didn't scare me off. Also, when you can tell that someone really wants you to be intimidated, then you know that you've kind of got something right. You know you're on the right track. So that kind of pushed me to keep going. If these people are scared of what I'm doing and the people that I'm speaking to, then it means my reporting has hit a nerve and that, as I said, that I'm on the right track.
You say you know more, and in the last part of your book, you write, "I hope that one day the courts and the lawyers and the newspapers and publishers will be brave enough to print what I know." That is pretty scary.
Yes, so it is genuinely very scary how much of this story had to be taken out of the book. We've been having a big public conversation in Australia recently around defamation laws and particularly around victims of sexual assault and sexual abuse. And it really does need to change the way that wealthy and powerful people can use the threat of coming forward with a defamation suit to try and silence people and to scare people out of reporting things that they know and that they can prove. So we're just living in a very hostile legal environment for public interest journalism and for victims of crime, and that's a real problem, because there's a huge chilling effect, and I really hope that changes.
Well, you're a brave woman for telling this story particularly and for following through with it. Thank you for your time, Lucia.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really lovely.
And Lucia Osborne Crowley's new book is called The Lasting Harm: Witnessing the Trial of Ghislaine Maxwell, and it's out now.